Brad Garlinghouse, senior vice president at Yahoo, pinned the Peanut Butter Manifesto, an internal document that would become a landmark in Silicon Valley history in 2006. Yahoo strategy was harshly criticized in the document. Garlinghouse contended that the business lacked a clear focus and was overstretching itself, like peanut butter on bread. He cautioned that Yahoo would find it difficult to compete with burgeoning internet behemoths like Google and Facebook if it didn't make a strategy shift. His remarks did not go down well. Additionally, the internal metaphor was that we spread our investment funds like peanut butter, and I believe that was a bad notion, and we should really decide that we needed to know what we truly wanted to be the best at. Additionally, it essentially made the case that dispersing resources like peanut butter is a poor tactic. They were fired by executives. They were blacklisted by Silicon Valley. They went unnoticed by Wall Street. Time, however, showed that they were correct. Yahoo's final downfall was caused by its inability to adjust, resulting in its 2017 sale to Verizon for a small portion of its previous price. Unquestionably foresighted, Garlinghouse built a foundation in tech leadership by using the event as fuel for his subsequent endeavors rather than letting it fade into obscurity. Following his departure from Yahoo, Garlinghouse assumed leadership positions that honed his skills in growing tech-driven companies. From 2009 to 2012, AOL. In his role as president of consumer applications, he oversaw programs that millions of people utilized, giving him extensive knowledge of user interaction and digital communication. Hightail, formerly known as Usendit, from 2012 to 2014, he honed his grasp of secure data transfers and scalability as CEO by spearheading the company's rebranding and move to a cloud storage provider. Every encounter gave a new dimension to his developing perspective. But he didn't discover his actual purpose until 2015, one that would reshape finance's future. The crypto revolution is upon us. Garlinghouse became the chief operational officer of Ripple in 2015. He was promoted to CEO a year later. Cryptocurrency was perceived by many as a speculative movement, but Garlinghouse sensed a fundamental change in the way value flowed throughout the world. He had a definite mission: make Ripple the top blockchain-based banking system in the world. In contrast to Bitcoin's emphasis on decentralization and store of value ideas, Ripple's goal was to work with banks and other financial institutions to reimagine the antiquated global payment system. The calculated actions that revolutionized Ripple made daring decisions that established it as a financial powerhouse under Garlinghouse's direction. 1. Concentrating on adoption by institutions, Ripple focused on banks and payment processors rather than individual investors. By providing on-demand liquidity using RippleNet, the company made cross-border payments quicker and less expensive. 2. Succeeding in the lawsuit against the SEC when the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, launched a lawsuit in 2020 alleging that XRP Ripple's native cryptocurrency was an unregistered securities. It presented a significant obstacle. For years, the case hung over the business. However, judges decided that XRP was not a security in secondary markets in 2023, giving Ripple a partial victory. Institutional investors' increased confidence and broader adoption were made possible by the court victory. 3. $250 million power play was made by purchasing Medeco. One of Garlinghouse's most audacious acquisitions to date was the $250 million purchase of Medeco, a cryptocurrency custody company based in Switzerland, in May 2023. What made this important institutional knowledge of custody? Medeco was an expert in protecting digital assets for big banks. Adherence to regulations. Banks found Ripple to be a desirable partner after the acquisition, since it provided a regulated institutional-grade custody solution. In anticipation of the tokenization boom, Garlinghouse projected that more than 10% of the world's assets would be valued trillions of dollars by 2030. Now, Ripple was well positioned to rule this market. The ensuing collaborations, financial behemoths paid attention to the Medeco deal. Ripple quickly established significant banking alliances. One of the biggest banks in the world is HSBC, DBS Singapore's banking giant. A pioneer in digital assets in Europe is Societe Generale's Forge. One of the biggest banks in the world is BBVA. These weren't merely bargains. They served as confirmations of Garlinghouse's long-term goals and Ripple's infrastructure. Relust is the stablecoin that revolutionized the game. Garlinghouse went one step further and introduced Relust, a stablecoin that is fully regulated and supported by actual assets, unlike rivals like Tether and USDC that are under investigation. Relust was fully approved by US regulators. After just 2 months of release, it had more than $100 million in circulation. This was only the start of the meeting that will determine the course of an important turning point, came at the beginning of 2025. President Trump and Garlinghouse held a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago. The finance and cryptocurrency industries were rocked by the meeting. Although no specifics were revealed, conjecture was rampant. Would the US ultimately embrace pro-crypto regulations? Would Ripple be crucial in determining policy? It was evident that Garlinghouse's influence had reached its pinnacle of strength, the future of money and the growth of Ripple. Under Garlinghouse's direction, Ripple's US presence took off. America accounted for 75% of the new employment generated. More transactions were signed in weeks than the previous 6 months. Expansion reached every major financial hub. Garlinghouse, however, was not merely establishing a cryptocurrency business. He was working on a new financial systems infrastructure architecture. Traditional financial instruments are being replaced by tokenized assets. Crypto custody on an institutional scale that is safe and regulated. A smooth, worldwide network for value transfer. The overall view. An opportunity worth $40 trillion. Global financial assets are worth about $400 trillion in total. $40 trillion will require custody solutions if only 10% of the market is tokenized, as predicted by Garlinghouse. With its calculated positioning, Ripple has the potential to serve as the foundation of this emerging financial system. Takeaways from Garlinghouse's adventure. The tale of Brad Garlinghouse exemplifies innovative leadership. At Yahoo, he questioned the status quo and was successful. At AOL and Hightail, he discovered his abilities in leadership positions. When others questioned blockchain's promise, he saw it. By forming alliances with international banks, he transformed Ripple into a fintech powerhouse. He put Ripple at the vanguard of the tokenization revolution worth $40 trillion. Real visionaries transform industries rather than merely identifying trends. And Garlinghouse is just getting started.